Siege of Baghdad. How the Mongols crushed the Caliphate. What happens when the most brilliant city on earth meets the most ruthless army in history? What if the river that once carried the wisdom of the world suddenly ran black with ink and red with blood? And who was this mysterious warlord, Hulagu Khan, who rode out of the east with 200,000 soldiers, siege engines, and a vendetta so fierce it ended an entire civilization's golden age? From the icy steppes of Mongolia to the glittering libraries of Baghdad, this is the story of how a nomadic empire expanded at warp speed, how a caliph underestimated a Khan, and how one siege changed the course of history forever. Why did the Mongols target Baghdad? How did Hulagu's army include Chinese engineers, Armenian warriors, and Christian allies? What secrets were lost when the House of Wisdom was reduced to ash? And could the Islamic world have stopped the storm before it hit? This isn't just history, it's a high-stakes thriller with real blood, real brilliance, and real consequences. Welcome to the Siege of Baghdad, where knowledge met conquest and the world was never the same again. In the windswept steppes of Mongolia circa 1162, a baby named Temujin was born clutching a blood clot. Ominous foreshadowing, if there ever was one. His father, a tribal chief, was poisoned when Temujin was just a boy, leaving his family destitute and abandoned. But Temujin wasn't about to let fate write him off. He killed his half-brother to assert dominance. Family dinners were awkward, escaped captivity from rival tribes, built alliances with iron charisma and battlefield brilliance. By 1206, he had united the fractious Mongol tribes and was crowned Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. He didn't just unify Mongolia, he weaponized it. Genghis Khan's empire exploded across Asia like a wildfire on rocket fuel. China, he crushed the Jin dynasty and laid the groundwork for future conquests. Central Asia, he obliterated the Khwarezmian Empire after they killed his envoys, bad move. Russia and Persia, his generals, like Subutai and Jebi, galloped through Eurasia like it was a racetrack. He died in 1227 during a campaign against the Western Shia, possibly from injuries after falling off a horse. His burial site remains a mystery, shrouded in legend and secrecy. After Genghis's death, his empire was split among his sons. One of the most formidable branches was the Ilkhanate, led by his grandson Hulagu Khan. Hulagu was tasked by his brother Mongols Khan to conquer the Islamic world. He assembled the largest Mongol army ever, up to 150,000 troops, including Chinese engineers, Christian allies from Armenia and Georgia, and Mongol warriors with a taste for destruction. Before Baghdad, Hulagu warmed up by annihilating the assassins, a secretive Ismaili sect holed up in the Elburz Mountains. Their fortress at Alamut, once thought impregnable, fell like a sandcastle in a tsunami. Founded in 762 CE by Caliph al-Mansur, Baghdad was the crown jewel of the Abbasid Caliphate, home to the House of Wisdom, where scholars translated Greek, Persian, and Indian texts. A melting pot of poets, scientists, philosophers, and artists. A city of over 1 million people, glittering with wealth and intellect. But by the 13th century, the Abbasid Caliphate was a shadow of its former glory. Real power had shifted to regional warlords. The reigning caliph, al-Mustasim, was more ceremonial than strategic. A dangerous thing when Hulagu Khan was knocking. In 1253, Mongols Khan, the great Khan and grandson of Genghis, decided it was time to clean house in the Islamic world. He summoned his brother Hulagu Khan and gave him a simple to-do list. Destroy the assassins, those dagger-happy Ismailis in the Elburz Mountains. Subjugate the Abbasid Caliphate. Establish Mongol dominance from Persia to Egypt. To accomplish this, Hulagu was handed 1/5 of the entire Mongol Empire's military might. A force estimated at 200,000 soldiers, the largest Mongol army ever assembled. This wasn't just a bunch of horsemen with bows. Hulagu's force was a multinational death parade. Armenian and Georgian troops, Christian allies eager to reclaim lands. Seljuk vassals, Turkish warriors with grudging loyalty. Chinese siege engineers led by the brilliant Guo Khan, a descendant of Tang dynasty generals. Guo Khan was the architect of destruction, designing siege engines and flood tactics. He later became governor of Baghdad, proving he could both destroy and administrate. Generals from every Mongol branch, Golden Horde, Chagatai, and even Genghis's daughter's descendants. This army moved slowly, leisurely by Mongol standards, because it wasn't just an army. It was a mobile city with families, livestock, engineers, and enough sheep to start a wool empire. The Order of Assassins, or Nizari Ismailis, had been a thorn in the Mongol side for decades. They had allegedly sent 400 assassins to kill Hulagu Khan. Their strongholds were carved into mountains, like villain lairs from a Bond film. From 1253 to 1256, Hulagu's vanguard under Kitbuka began the purge. Fortresses fell one by one. The city of Tun was sacked. The stronghold at Gerdku resisted but was eventually isolated. The assassin's grandmaster Rukn al-Din Kershaw tried to stall Hulagu with diplomatic delay tactics. Hulagu, not known for patience, responded with siege engines and catapults that hurled flaming palm trees. On November 19, 1256, Kershaw surrendered. The assassins were finished. Their legacy of terror ended with a Mongol exclamation point. With the assassins wiped out, Hulagu turned his gaze to Baghdad, the glittering capital of the Abbasid Caliphate. He expected Caliph al-Mustasim to send troops for the campaign. The Caliph hesitated, then refused. His ministers feared Hulagu's real goal was to empty Baghdad of defenders. Bad call. In September 1257, Hulagu sent a message demanding Baghdad's defenses be dismantled. The Caliph sent his top ministers, the vizier, the military commander, and the dawatdar, tax and harvest official. Al-Mustasim replied with insults, calling Hulagu young and ignorant, and claimed he could summon all of Islam to his defense. He sent 3 nobodies instead of his top officials 1. Hulagu's response? A poetic threat. Even if you hide in the heavens or the depths of the earth, I will bring you down. I will toss you like a lion. I will leave no one alive in your kingdom. I will burn your city and your lands. Hulagu reached Baghdad's eastern suburbs on January 22, 1258. The siege began. The Mongols built fortifications and moats around the city. Hulagu Khan's engineers deployed siege engines and catapults with incendiary ammo. Arrows with messages of mercy were shot into the city, offering safety to Christians, scholars, and those who surrendered. Baghdad's defenses were a joke. Walls were crumbling. The garrison of 50,000 was untrained and disorganized. Refugees flooded the city, draining resources and morale. On February 1st, the Mongols attacked the Ajami Tower with flaming projectiles. The tower fell after 3 days. February 10, al-Mustasim surrendered. February 13, the Mongols entered Baghdad. What followed was one of the bloodiest days in human history. Massacre. Estimates range from 200,000 to over 1 million dead. Destruction. The House of Wisdom was burned. Books were thrown into the Tigris, which ran black with ink. Execution. Al-Mustasim was rolled in a carpet and trampled by horses. Mongols believed royal blood shouldn't touch the earth. Hulagu demanded surrender. Al-Mustasim refused, believing the Muslim world would rally to his defense. Spoiler, it didn't. The assassin's grandmaster, Rukn al-Din Kershaw, tried to stall Hulagu with diplomatic delay tactics. Hulagu, not known for patience, responded with siege engines and catapults that hurled flaming palm trees. On November 19, 1256, Kershaw surrendered. The assassins were finished. Their legacy of terror ended with a Mongol exclamation point. With the assassins wiped out, Hulagu turned his gaze to Baghdad, the glittering capital of the Abbasid Caliphate. He expected Caliph al-Mustasim to send troops for the campaign. The Caliph hesitated, then refused. His ministers feared Hulagu's real goal was to empty Baghdad of defenders. Bad call. In September 1257, Hulagu sent a message demanding Baghdad's defenses be dismantled. The Caliph sent his top ministers, the vizier, the military commander, and the dawatdar, tax and harvest official. Al-Mustasim replied with insults, calling Hulagu young and ignorant, and claimed he could summon all of Islam to his defense. He sent 3 nobodies instead of his top officials. The Mongols had surrounded Baghdad like wolves circling a wounded lion. On February 1st, after days of bombardment, the Ajami Tower fell. But the defenders weren't done yet. The first breach was made and Mongol troops stormed in, expecting a swift victory. Instead, they were met with brutal resistance. The Caliph's forces, though poorly trained, fought like cornered beasts. The Mongols were pushed back, a rare moment of defiance that only delayed the inevitable. On February 4th, the Mongols breached the eastern battlements. This time, they held their ground. The defenders rushed to the western side, frantically building new fortifications with whatever they could find, sandbags, furniture, even books. Sensing doom, the Dawatdar, Minister of Finance and Harvest, tried to escape down the Tigris with 3 ships. Hulagu had anticipated this. His forces intercepted the vessels, sinking them and forcing the Dawatdar back into the city. Meanwhile, Caliph al-Mustasim sent out envoys hoping to negotiate peace. Hulagu wasn't having it. He wanted unconditional surrender and nothing less. The Dawatdar and the commander of the garrison were handed over during negotiations. Hulagu executed them both, sending a clear message: mercy was off the menu. On February 7th, thousands of unarmed soldiers and civilians emerged from the city, hoping to be spared. They begged to be relocated to Syria. Hulagu divided them into groups. Then he executed them all. On February 10th, al-Mustasim finally surrendered. He emerged with 3,000 dignitaries, having secured guarantees of safety for his family. Hulagu then ordered the caliph to command the city's population to disarm and leave. Those who obeyed were slaughtered 3 days later. This was not just a sack, it was an apocalypse. Baghdad had over 1 million residents. The Mongols massacred most of them. Palaces, mosques, hospitals, and libraries were burned. The House of Wisdom, the greatest repository of knowledge in the medieval world, was obliterated. Legend says the Tigris River ran black with ink from the books thrown into it, and red with blood from the bodies too. Scholars, scientists, poets, gone, either killed or fled, leaving behind a cultural vacuum that would take centuries to refill. Only Nestorian Christians and merchants who had ties to the Mongols were spared. Hulagu's mother was a Nestorian, and that small detail saved thousands. The sack of Baghdad marked the death of an era. The Abbasid Caliphate was extinguished. The Islamic Golden Age, a time of algebra, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy, was snuffed out. The Mongols had shattered the intellectual heart of the Muslim world. Baghdad, once the intellectual capital of the world, was reduced to ash and silence. The Islamic Golden Age ended not with a whimper, but a scream. The sack of Baghdad in 1258 remains one of the bloodiest and most culturally devastating events in human history. A moment when the lights of civilization were dimmed by the shadow of conquest. Don't miss our next episode, The Battle of Hattin, 1187 CE, Saladin's Revenge, the Crusaders crushed. Epic clash between the Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem and the mighty Muslim general Saladin. Features betrayal, religious fervor, and tactical genius. Leads directly to the fall of Jerusalem and the launch of the Third Crusade. Saladin becomes a legendary figure, respected even by his enemies. What happens when arrogance meets strategy? Why did the Crusaders march into a trap under the blazing sun? And how did Saladin, a man of mercy and might, rewrite the fate of the Holy Land in a single day? This is the story of how a dusty hill in Palestine became the graveyard of a kingdom and the birthplace of a legend. If you found this story as mind-blowing as we did, don't let history pass you by. Smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and follow us for more jaw-dropping tales